Okay, so we just finished Daf Yud Beis. Today's Daf is Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Masechtas Nedarim Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. The Gemara just tried to go back to the suffix that Rabbi Rachama had on the prior Daf regarding if somebody's matfis in Zivchei Shlamim. Does it mean to be matvis be'ikr zivchei shlamim, which is before Zukas Damim and it's aser, or does it mean after Zukas Damim and it's mutter? So Gemara wants to say it's machlokes machlokes Rabbi Yaakov and Yehuda. And we find this machlokes Rabbi Yaakov and Yehuda that if somebody says harei alai kebechor, so Rabbi Yaakov says it's aser and Yehuda is matir. So Gemara wants to say that's machlokes, that's the shaila over here. So Gemara says that no, it's talking about that. So we wanted to say that. So the Gemara wanted to say that no, it's talking about. So the Gemara in the Kasha was assuming that he had basar in front of him, and he said that this should be like this. And he sees the machlek. He said the Gemara answer no. The kuli alma l'fnei Zukas Damim. So we are now the end of the second line. You'd go on the top. The Gemara says loy. It's not a raya that the machlek is Rabbi Yaakov and Rav Yehuda is totally in the suffix of Rabbi Rachama whether you matas before Zukas Damim or after Zukas Damim. Why? Because the kuli alma you could say l'fnei Zukas Damim. You could say that the ikrat tfas and bechor is before Zukas Damim. The my time of the man the shari. So he was what's shot on the man the Omar that holds mutter. Why does Rav Yehuda hold that it's mutter? So the Gemara Damakro Ish Ki Yidar Nedal Hashem. That's what the pasuk says in Bamidbar Perak Lama pasuk Gimel. And the fact that it says Ki Yidar Neder, we darshan because it's a double lashon. We darshan that a neder is not chal until you make a neder in something that is neder. La fuke bechor the davar aser. Lafuke if you matas and mechor that the Torah already asked a mechor. So when you say I want something to be asked like a mechor, if Yehuda's matter, the reason why Yehuda's matter because he holds you're not being matvis and it's something that and something that becomes aser because somebody made a neder on it. It's only aser because the Torah already asked it. So that's not something you can matas and neder on. That's where Yehuda holds. Why? Because Kedushas Bechor is chal by itself. The baby's born, the firstborn is born by the animal, and it's already aser. So that's pshat on the machlekes of Yehuda and Rameir. That's what Gemara wants to say. Frek Gemara Manda Asar B'Say B'Zoy. What's pshat on the Manda Amar that holds that? So the Gemara wants to know that what will be pshat in the Manda Amar that says that it is Asar. Why? L'chari you have a pasuk Ishki the Nedal Hashem. It tells you have to be matas in something that's another. Amar Kral Lashem. So the Gemara, you know why? Because it says Lashem in the pasuk. Ishki either Nedal Hashem, and we dash in l'rabis davara Asar. It's coming to marba something that's already Asar like Bechar. So for the Gemara, man the shari Lashem Avadle. So what's pshat on Rabbi Yehuda to hold that it's mutter? What do you mean? We have a pasuk Lashem. So the Gemara mi boyalei matas bechatas ba'asham. He holds Hashem you need for something else. You need to have it that you could be matvis and neder in a carbon chatas and a carbon asham. Although you're chayv to bring a carbon chatas because a guy sinned, and it's already considered maybe a shtickle like a davar aser because it's something that you have to bring. It's not something that you're bringing it because you were mechayv yourself, so to speak. You were mechayv. You said I want to bring a carbon. So that's what he holds in the Ev Lashem to be marba chatzis and asham. So fact Gemara, Mara Isa, l'rabbeis chatzis va'asham, v'lahoitzis abechar. Why do you see that you have to be marba from Lashem chatzis and asham? And why do you see from the pasuk of Yid and Neder to be ma'it bechar? So Gemara, Marabani chatzis va'asham shu matvis min Neder. The reason why Yehuda held so is because he wanted to use chatas va'asham to be matas v'neder, u'moitzi aniyas habechor shu kodesh me'imoi. So he wanted to use chatzah ashan to match the nether because considered lamaisa like a davar hanadar, since the owner, the one that's bringing the carbon, it does choose the animal that he wants to bring for the carbon, and he's makdish it for a chatas or an asham. So therefore, he held that you could be matzid. Mashengen bechar, it's kaddish mei imoi. So whoever is bringing a bechar is he's not even selecting it. Whatever the mother gives birth to, the mother animal gives birth to. So that's kaddish mei imoi. That's already asar. So that's why he held that it makes sense to be mayit bechar. Umanda asar. What about Rabbi Yaakov that holds? He held it's asar even if he matas in bechar. Bechar not matfisa ben neder. He holds that no, bechar is also considered that you be matas in neder. The Tanya, because we learned in the Brisa, Mishon Rebbe Amru, learned in the name of Rebbe, Menayin lenoiled bechar b'soich beisai shel mitzvah. B'soich beisai. How do you know that if somebody is born to him a bechar in his house, that it's a mitzvah? That although it's kadosh, it's a mitzvah lakdisha, that's a mitzvah on the owner to be makdisha. Shenemar, so then pasuk devarim parak tasvav pasuk yites kol abechar sheivol b'bcharcha b'tzoincha azachar takdish. And since you see that is a specifically before the bechar is a mitzvah for the owner to be makdish the bechar, even though it's kadosh me'imai. So therefore he holds that makes it considered like a davar another. Memela Reb Yaakov holds you can be matas and neder, and it's going to be also be matas and neder. Uman neshar the Reb Yehuda holds that it's mutter what's pshat. So the Gemara kilei makdash le milei mikdash. Yehuda says it's not a taina because even if you're not makdash b'chor l'maisa, it still blives kaddish. I guess it's not ma'akiv, and it's not the kedushas of bechor is not totally in the bailim. So it comes out lamaisa. That's what the Gemara wants to say. So the Mela comes out. The Gemara is saying that is no hechach b'chlal that the machlekes Rabbi Yaakov and Rabbi Yehuda is totally in the suffix of Rav Bar Chama, and we can't be pushed at the suffix from this. Zok the Gemara weiter. The Mishnah said that if somebody says Harei kikar ze alai ki'imra meaning like a sheep or a lamb. So we say he means like a sheep that you bring for a carbon. Kadirim, if he says like karbanis that you find in the storage areas, wherever they keep these karbanis on the base of the Midrash, we say the neder is chal. That's what the Mishnah says. Tana, Zakti Gemara, we learned in a Brisa, Imra, li Imra, ki Imra. If somebody says Kikar Ze'alai Imra, or he says Kikar Ze'alai li Imra, or ki Imra. Or he says dirim, or la dirim, or kadirim. So he just says the word in different ways. Either with the lamed or with the kaf, or eitzim, like eitzim on the mizbeach, ka eitzim, ishim, la ishim, ka ishim. It's the fire in the mizbeach, la mizbeach, ka mizbeach, heichal, la heichal, ka heichal. He says Yerushalayim, li Yerushalayim, ki Yerushalayim. Kulon, the halacha is by all of them, if he says at the end, Kikar zeh, let's say, Ki Yerushalayim, Sha'oichel lecha, the halacha is asr. He's asr to eat from his friend. But if he says, Lo yoichal lecha, I'm not going to eat, then it's mutter. Then it's not chal neder. Zok the Gemara, Man shamin an lei. Who's the Tana of Brisa that holds the loishani lei, Imra le-Imra, or ke-Imra, that holds, it doesn't make a difference if you say Imra, a sheep, le-Imra, to a sheep, or ke-Imra, like a sheep. So Gemara Meir, he's going to Meir. So, okay, it's Meir, fine. So for Gemara, Ibazoi, Emes Seifa, say, it says in the Seifa of the Brisa, so what does it say? It says, V'kulan, and all his shyness, if he finishes off and he says lo yoichal mutter, the neder is not chal and it's per and is mutter. What do you mean? We learned in the Mishnah a little later on. If somebody says la korban lo yoichal remeir oiser, The Mishnah just says a little later on that if somebody said la carbon lo yechel lecha, Rameir holds aser. But Amar Rabba says that the reason why Rameir holds aser because nasa ka'omer la carbon yehei lefichach lo yechel lecha. It's as if he's saying it should be a carbon, and therefore I will not eat it. So that's why it becomes aser. It's more not like we're saying in the Brisa that if it says lo yechel lecha mutter. So if this Brisa is Rameir later on says not like that, then you have a stira Rameir. So tomorrow loy kasha. The Brisa is talking about the Omar loy leimra, that he said loy leimra lo yechel lecha. And therefore we say he means to say that it should not be like an imra, rather it should be chulin, it should be mundane, it should not be a carbon. The Mishnah is talking about the Amar li imra lo yechel lecha. He didn't say lo imra lecha, he said li imra lo yechel lecha. And therefore we say he means that it should be li imra, and therefore I won't eat it because it's hektish. And that's why Rameir in the Mishnah later on says that the you could be matva, that if he says li imra lo yechel lecha, then it's going to be aser. Consider another. Okay, now we're up to Mishnah. Zok the Heilige Mishnah. The Mishnah is going to say here more lashonis that you could say to make a neder. Ha'omer carbon oila mincha chatas toida shlamim. If somebody says it should be this kikar should be carbon oila mincha chatas toida shlamim, and then he finishes, he says, Shani oichel lecha. The halacha is aser, the neder is chal, and he's not allowed to eat from his friend. Let's say it's his friend's kikar or whatever. Rabbi Yehuda matir, so that's the Tanakama. It's a machlokes here. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's mutter, because the neder is not chal. Ha-carbon, ki-carbon, carbon sha'oichel lecha, aser. Then he's not allowed to eat from his friend. Li carbon lo yechel lecha Rameir aser. So he says carbon she'oichel lecha, it's aser. He says li carbon lo yechel lecha, I'm not going to eat it because it's a carbon. Rameir holds aser, and this is Rameir we just had in the Gemara before. Zok the Heilige Gemara Katani. We learned in the Mishnah it says carbon ha carbon ki carbon she'oichel lecha aser. It's going to be aser. Ustama tana ki Rameir. The chor, the stam tana, is Rameir, the loy shani le, bin imra le imra. This is the Rameir we had before. We just had before the Mishnah, that it says there's no difference if you say imra le imra. For the Gemara, I Rameir, ktani hakar ben sho'eichel lecha asar. If it's going to Rameir, we learned in the Mishnah, it says hakar ben sho'eichel lecha, that it's going to be asar. V'hatanya, we learned in a Brisa, Moedim Chacham Rabbi Yehuda ba'omer ha-carbon v'ha-oila v'ha-mincha v'ha-chata she'oichel lecha mutter. That if he says ha before saying oila mincha chata, that it's going to be mutter. Why? Because lo nodar ze'ala b'chaya carbon. Because he's saying ha-oila, he's saying that this thing should be an oila, which is mashma that it's not saying, he's not making neder on himself, he's just saying it b'chaya carbon, meaning that he's just saying that this animal is a carbon. It does not mashmois, and he's asking himself, and therefore he's saying the neder is achal. So the Gemara wants to know if l'chor everybody agrees with this price. It says Moedim Chacham Rabbi Yehuda. Everybody agrees that in this case, where you say ha carbon ha oila, it doesn't help to make another chal. So I say, who's the Tana of the Mishnah that holds that if you say ha carbon, ha carbon ki carbon, that it's aser. So the Gemara is assuming that this right. So the Mishnah said you could say carbon. So the Gemara is assuming you could say carbon, ha carbon, carbon, and it's going like Rameir. For the Gemara, you have steer to the Brisa. The Brisa is mashma kuli alma. Even Rameir holds that if you say ha carbon, it's like then it would not help to matz the neder. So the chara ha carbon is saying like ha carbon. It should be the same thing, and chara neder shouldn't be chal. So who's the Tana of the Mishnah? So the Gemara loy kash. It's not a steer between the Mishnah and the Brisa. Why? Because the Brisa says it's mutter when you say ha carbon, when you say ha carbon, amar ha carbon. V'ha ama ha-carbon. The Mishnah is a different thing. The Mishnah says ha-carbon. The Gemara is saying no, it's different. Ha-carbon is different than ha-carbon. Ha-carbon is mashma that this thing should be a carbon, and therefore the neder is chal. Again, ha-carbon, we were saying that pshat is you're doing it b'chaye ha-carbon. And saying ha-carbon, the Gemara is saying it's not any words b'chlal for a neder. It's not how you make a neder. That's what the Gemara means b'chaye carbon gomer. Zak the Gemara, okay. Zak the Gemara weiter. Le carbon lo eichalacha, remeir oiser. Says in the Sefer of the Mishnah that if somebody says le carbon lo eichalacha, right? So that was remeir that we saw. Remeir says it's aser. Frek the Gemara. What do you mean? He doesn't hold that from when you say no, you see yes. Why? Because the Gemara is assuming that why is the carbon la'eichalacha aser? Because the guy is saying that it should not be a carbon for what I'm not eating, but what I am eating, mashma is a carbon. So it's only being medayik in the. We're kind of taking apart his words and saying, oh, he's saying what he doesn't, what he's not eating is not a carbon. So we see. That you would have to come on to B'chlal Avat Shemei. And for the Gemara, no. Amar Rav Abba, the reason of Rameir that says Aser when you say L'Karban L'Eichalacha is not because of Medayik and the Lashon of the Noider. Rather, what's Pshat? Because it's Nasa Ka'imr L'Karban Yehei L'Ficha L'Eichalacha. It's as if we touch up his words to say that he's saying that it should be a carbon, La Carbon L'Eichalacha, La Carbon, and therefore L'Eichalacha, it should be a carbon, and therefore I'm not eating it. So you don't have to come on to B'chlal Avat Shemei. Okay, new Mishnah. Zok the Heilige Mishnah. The Gemara is going to say over here that this Mishnah over here is going to mechadish a halacha that a guy could make a neder on himself and ask himself even without doing any actions. So Emel Chaveroi Pi Medamer Imcha. If a guy tells his friend, "You're aser on me, Pi Medamer Imcha." So the guy says, my mouth that's talking to you should be also like a carbon, or yadi ya'isa imcha, that my hands that are doing with you should be aser, or ragli malach simcha, my legs that go with you, aser. The halacha is aser. All of these are aser. I guess the chiddush is, although he's not saying, he doesn't say that. He doesn't say that. That he doesn't say. Normally, the normal lashon of a neder is he's saying. Normal lashon of a neder is what? If he says. Again, what would be a regular neder? A regular neder would be. The guy says kikar ze alai, let's say ke'imra, and he says sha'eichalacha. So I guess he's doing an action by saying something else should be asar on me, or a kikar that belongs to you should be asar on me, like ke'imra. So here is not really taking any other. I guess he's not taking any other. There's no other thing over here involved. He's just saying my mouth that's talking to you should be asar. Okay, so Zok the Gemara. So, Frag the Gemara, Veraminu, I ask you a stira. Choymer b'shvuos Nedarim. There's a chumrah, a stringency in shvuos over Nedarim, in making shvu over neder. V'b'nedarim b'shvuos, and the chumrah Nedarim over shvuos. Zok the Gemara, what are they? Choymer Nedarim, there's a chumrah of in Nedarim more than shvuos, and Nedarim chal mitzvah koreshus. Nedarim is chal on a mitzvah, just like somebody can aser a random a car on himself, let's say, for example, so too he could also aser a chayfetz mitzvah, a lulav. If somebody says, lulav, sukkah, tefillin, then he could aser on himself. Masha'engem b'shvuos, a guy cannot make a shvuah, a vow. There's no chalois on a mitzvah. Why? Because I think it's a mushma already from Har Sinai that you have to do it. So you cannot make a shvuah, I'm not going to sit in the sukkah, I'm not going to put on tefillin. The chaymer b'shvuos, Shashvuas chal to davar sheish b'mamish. And the chumrah of shvuas on nedarim, because shvuas is chal on davar sheish b'mamish. Meaning what? If davar sheish b'mamish v'shein b'mamish also chal on something that does not have any mamashes. Meaning if the thing is around. I think that's what it means. That's yeshua mamash. There has to be something actual, tangible around. So it could be chal even if something that's not tangible. Masha'in nedarim is only chal on something that is tangible. So the Gemara's kasha is, what did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah said not like that. The Mishnah said that a guy could make a neder that he's asering his speaking on somebody, or he won't do anything for somebody, even though he's not asering a tangible thing. It's only actions that don't have anything to it. It's my talking. I can't pick up my talking. It's not something I can touch. Amar Yehuda. So Yehuda answers that no. Avada nedarim is takanachal on a davar sheima mamish. It's not tangible. And the Mishnah is talking about imi ya'asa pi lidiburi. He's saying, this is what he says, koinim mi pi midamer imcha. He means that he says yod, he says, what was the other case that he says? Yodi oise imcha, that was the other case in Mishnah. So he needs to say, Yodai lemaseyem raglai lehiluchon. I'm answering my hands to the actions that they do, or my mouth to the actions that they do, or my feet to the actions that they do. So he is answering, and since his mouth, his feet, and his hands, they are tangible, is something you can touch, therefore the net is chal on it for the actions that they do. It's not a problem. Talking about daika nami, I'll bring you a proof to that. The katani pi medamer imcha l'ktani shani medamer imcha. It says pi medamer imcha. It says my mouth that's speaking to you, but it doesn't say that I'm speaking to you. It doesn't say me. It says my mouth. So the tangible thing is his mouth that's doing it. And so too it says yadi and ragli. So it's mashma the neder actually chal on his mouth or on his foot, and not on the person itself. Not chal on the person as a whole. Hadron alach kol kanuye. So we just finished the first parak in Mesech Nedarim. Mazel tov, mazel tov. Let's jump right into the second parak. Ve'elu mitarim. Parak ve'elu mitarim. So it seems, let's see, what are we talking about here? The previous parak was talking about that the Mishnah, basically we were explaining different words that you could use, that someone that's making a neder, that the neder could be chal on different words. Now the Mishnah is going to say words specifically that the neder is not chal. Elu mutarim. These are the ones that won't be chal. So the elu mutarim. These are lashonis and nedarim that will be mutar by itself, and you do not even have to come on. You don't have to come on to Taras Chacham, anybody to come help you and be matar the neder. It just never goes into effect at all. If somebody tells his friend, chulin sha'oicha lacha, chulin that I will eat to you. Saying whatever I eat should be chulin, so that's mutter. Kipsar chazir, which is already asar b'achila. Can't be matzah nezer and chazir. Torah already asar chazir. Or kavitz chamin, which is already asar bana. Or ka'iris levuvim, or skins of animals that already had a hole against the heart, which is to take out the heart and to makar and favay dezara. So I guess that has an isser of, either has an isser of a zara, or it's maybe trephus. Maybe we'll see. Well, actually, the next case in the Gemara in the Mishnah is the velas of trephus, which are asar b'achilas. That apparently has more to do with avodah zara, I would guess. Talmidei Rabbeinu Peretz says that ka'iris levumin asar is asar because the whole skin is asar because takrev is avodah zara. Okay, there you go. Kishkatzim or amasim, or he asks himself k'chalas aharoin, which is chalas aharon is a piece of the dough that was separated and given to kehanim, the bnei aharon. It went specifically to them. The chumasai, and the truma that was taken off of that as well. So the halacha is any Zashon is mutter, and you do not need to have a Torah, since you cannot be matas a neder in something that the Torah already asked prior. If somebody tells his wife, you should be on me like my mother. I mean, just like my mother is Isser Erva, so too it should be Isser Tashmish. That's what he's trying to tell his wife. So even though he is being matras and neder in something that Torah already asered, and it's not chal, however, we will machamer on him that the neder is not going to be mutter by itself. Seems like an extra chumrah we take. Halacha is Pesach Pesach. We give him an opening to his Pesach and try to help him out to make that, take it off of him. It should not be aser. Memakam acher, and we also machmer it should be the heter, the Pesach that we're giving him, the opening that we're trying to help him out, take off the neder, should come from somewhere else. And Malkam Acher, meaning we don't tell him like, oh, if your mother would know about this, then it's not kibbut aim, so Mila Neder shouldn't be chal. No, it's not how we do it. Rather, you try to find a Pesach from some sort of other reason aside from that. And the reason is Shalo Yekel Reish Lakach. Because reason why we're machmer and we say it's aser, even though technically ikar adin, you can't be matzis in something that's already aser by saying the guy tells his wife it should be aser to my mother, which is already an error, but technically in the Nedarim hatfasas neder would not work in something like that because the Torah already asered it. Shelo yekol reish lakach, because if we're mat in the neder, then we're afraid even if he's matvis his wife and in the davar another. Even in a regular case of neder, maybe we'll say, okay, it's mutter. So that's why we're saying, you know what, anytime a guy makes a neder and his wife tries to answer his wife on him, we say that, even in the case where he says ki'ima, therefore we have to find a Pesach, we have to matter. It's an extra chumrah that Mishnah says that you have to do. Zokt tehelig Gemara. Taima, the Mishnah said if somebody says chulun sha'eichel the neder is not chal, because he's saying whatever I'm going to eat is chulun. The reason why neder is not chal, because he said whatever I'm going to eat is going to be chulun. Ha'amar lechulin sha'eichel. If he adds a lamed and he says lechulun sha'eichel, it's mashma. Loy lechulin lehevi, it's mashma should not be chulun. Ela carbon should be a carbon, so maybe that's going to be aser. So it's like the Maramani Masnizis, who's just going like Ira Meir doesn't make sense. Halesle. If it's going to Meir, doesn't hold and this would only work with the concept of because you're saying it should not be chulun, rather it should be carbon, and we don't can't be a Meir. The Ella has to be Dr. Mara Yehuda has to be Yehuda that does hold so frakti Gemara Hainu Reisha Lachar already had this din in the Reisha. On Daf Yomi Daf, and if somebody says lachun sha'eichel lechol neder schal also b'achila, so the Gemara. So why do you have to say it again? That Gemara, Aidik Tani Kipsar Chazer b'aved zecham lahachik Tani chulin sha'eichel lechol. Gemara is saying that no, there's no chiddush at all on chulin sha'eichel lechol that you want to be mdaig. If somebody says lechulin, then it has a different halacha. And the only reason why we chapped on chulin sha'eichel lechol is mutter is only because it already said Kibsar Chazir and Avodas Kechavim, so therefore we also chapped on Chulin to tell you that the neder is not Chal, but Avada the Mishnah did not come to tell to you for any other reason, and we did not come to tell you Daik anything else, and therefore it's not shver why that the Mishnah is coming to tell you that halacha, because it's not what the Mishnah is coming to say at all.